Well, I don't do retakes.
We're gonna protest it. Okay, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
We're ready.
Okay. This is collective bargaining negotiations between the International Association of Firefighters and the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners. It's January 29th, 2021, and it is 8:35 Central Standard Time. We are passing around a sign-in sheet that will be made a part of the minutes of the negotiations. I don't think we need to go around and introduce ourselves, do we? Everybody knows each other, right?
I think so.
So,
So there's no
New
video.
face to me.
there's only-
Shannon.
Yeah,
Shannon.
there's no video, there's only
With-
audio.
with you guys, okay.
Probably should do the introduction.
okay, good. I'm Mike Mattamore.
Kristen Huell, County Attorney's Office.
Debbie Barris, County Administration.
Scott Hunsucker, 4131.
Nick Radio 4131.
Andrew Resnick, 4131.
Scott Averill, 4131. Adam Harrison, 4131.
Shannon Erdwin's finance payroll.
Nikki Powell, Clerk's Office, Payroll.
Lorraine Hudson, Clerk's Office.
Janice Gilly, County Administration.
Lorraine, would you please introduce the new person who's with you today?
It's Shannon Edwins. She's in the finance reporting, but she's also going to be helping us in a little bit with payroll and learning the payroll system.
Kronos?
Yes, specifically.
So today, what we'd like to do, well, first up, whatever you want to do, Nick, I'm not trying to jump
Okay.
out in front and hijack your business if you want to bring up first.
No,
We're glad to take it up.
we kind of figured, I apologize for what happened in December.
No
We
problem.
had to cancel.
Absolutely no problem at all.
But fortunately, we were presented with the articles that were
Yeah,
going to be intended to be discussed.
yeah,
So it did give us the opportunity to still go through those and go from there.
great.
So we did prepare those articles and a couple others, what we would, I guess, consider to be count, yes.
Yeah,
So we prepared those.
That would be great.
Okay. So I really don't feel like it was, it was unfortunate, but we made best of the time and still discussed them and want to come back and work on it.
I was perfectly good with it, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Gave me the afternoon to drive back to Tallahassee. I got
Some
no-
other people were not very happy, understandably, but, yeah, if you don't mind. Can I have enough for everybody? The top has a kind of a cover sheet to
Thank
TA,
you.
what has been TA'd already.
Look at you.
Second page there were some, I know we already discussed like ground rules and things like that. If you want to stick with what we're doing, that's fine. This was just the way it seemed to be kind of trending. We did maybe not have to go with the Christmas tree format, but we can stick with what we have if you'd like to.
Okay.
I feel like all of those that were included in that email that we got are included in this, and some additional ones, but anyway. So the way we're looking at this is we like to consider these all independent. I would like you to consider our acceptance of essentially our acceptance of your proposal 6 of discipline, kind of a 6 and 8 or a combo deal. So maybe we need some discussion about that. So, however you want to proceed, you want to kind of work through them, talk about them, that's fine.
Why
Just
don't-
kind of hit the highlights if there were any changes there.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we go through this? You tell us anything you want us to know about it, and then let us go into a caucus, because there may be some things that we can just go ahead and agree to. But I think I'd have to go to a caucus before.
Oh, sure.
But if there's something you want us to know about before we go into caucus, please feel free. But I think we could jump right into the caucus and go through these.
Hey, Nick, can you send me the electronic version of what you just handed out, please?
I would if I could get on the internet.
Well,
You don't have internet?
I'm joking. Yeah, give me just a second, okay?
We will be turning on.
No, I got it.
Oh.
Bad joke. There's no,
We're going to go somewhere else. Do you know where we're going?
Yeah.
All right.
he wasn't gonna go through anything?
I was just sending this to Jana real quick. All right, should be on the way.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so. Get back to where we was. Too much crap on here. All right, so obviously 3.01, just some consolidation changes in. It supports the current law. Simplistic there. 3.02, agree with the county's proposed language changes. 3.03, agree with moving the language to Article 24. That's closed for voting rights. 4, we agreed with 4.01, agreed with the proposed changes. 4.02, agreed with proposals, except that notice shall be provided in writing. That was just that little tidbit at the bottom there, in writing. 4.03 is no issue. 04, there's obviously some changes there. There were some concerns about we had some discussion about the lead pool before. And this just addresses those concerns. We were looking at trying to get that 85 hours. What we had done before was that there was an 85-hour a year allotment, trying to basically get the agreement of the contract. It just goes into a pool. Because you could have one year where there's a need to use more than 85, and then you may have years where there's nothing happening at all. So it was just a consideration. But if this is the way you guys want to have it done, then we're willing to work on that, set that. We would like 4.05 is fine. We would just obviously want to retain the dues form. Appendix A or however we need to order that. 06 is fine. Just a second here. And there was a concern in there about, what promotion aspect was removed. That was a concern. No reason to stop dues deduction based on an employee being promoted out of the bargaining unit. That's really the responsibility of the employee. It's between us and them. For example, I mean, there have been members in the past who were always members and they promoted and they just continued their membership, you know.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it doesn't conflict with their, I guess, classification in the county employment-wise, but
Got it.
Await agreeing to those changes, proposed changes from you guys. 09, is okay. We would like to, want to figure out how we had 2 hours of orientation before. You guys have proposed 1. I think that's reasonable. The big point there is we just would like to have the opportunity for the orientation.
Yeah.
See a
Yeah.
great deal of benefit in it, to help the person transition into working here. So that's really the major emphasis. Is if it needs to be if it has to be an hour, no problem there. We just want to ensure that it's happening. 10 is a new proposal by us. So that's something for you guys to review.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about 4? Okay. I don't have any questions. I understand.
We did tackle or offer the grievance procedure and for discipline, which were two pretty healthy ones. 1 is fine. We'll agree with the proposed changes 5.02. Procedure. We would like to. You'll see some proposals in there for dates. Our concept or our thought on this was just to try to have more of a simplified version of dates as far as response times, things like that. So I feel like that may be easier for both parties if there's if a grievance does arise. Instead of 5 days at step 1, 15 at step 2, all those types of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, make it uniform.
Mm-hmm. You'll see a change in there when you get to step 2. You want to make sure the union retains the exclusive right to decide whether a grievance for dues paying members is forwarded to arbitration or not. Step 3, 60 days to forward a grievance to arbitration to allow the union sufficient time to request, obtain, and review all evidence. The rest is accepted until 7. Just language that the grievance is resolved through settlement, arbitrators' fees will be split. If withdrawn after the arbitrator has been selected, when the party withdrawn the grievance.
Okay.
You can see no changes there. There's an addition there at 5.04 time limits. And those 05, 06 is agreeing with the proposed changes there.
Okay.
So moves to discipline. Again, do you want to just bump over discipline and leave right now since we're going to
Okay.
do those?
Do you
Yeah.
have an extra set?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just set 6 and 8 aside for now.
Okay.
Take us to 10 hours of working overtime. 01, we're agreeing with the county's proposal on 10, 11. did want some clarification. In 10.02, there's some clarifying language in there that I'd like you to consider. 03 through 08, we are accepting those. Did you have?
10.04, we may have something that just kind of, from a procedural standpoint, just clarifies some things a little better. Because as we've seen how some practices have been playing out since we've had to institute mandatory overtime, we're doing the best we can, but the contract language is vague. So if we can spell it out a little better and look at some other things, then we may do that.
This was a recent thing. It's a conflict between, we use Telestaff for rostering purposes. Telestaff follows, it's a computer program, so it's built upon rules. Obviously, FLSA laws are built in.
Yeah.
But it bases seniority in all aspects on your hire date. When we talk about, mandatory overtime, layoffs, things like that, or especially with mandatory overtime, the interpretation is it's based on time and grade. Meaning when you promote to an officer level, just because you've been here for 20 years, if you've only been a lieutenant for, say, a year, you're at the bottom of that list. And then unfortunately, the rostering system won't compute it that way.
Right.
One of those things that popped up on us is kind of we need to work on that. And as with most things, I think everybody's so incredibly inundated with work right now. Some of these minor things that we can, capture in the contract will help down the road.
Okay.
So again, I apologize for not including this. This has literally become an issue in the last week. But we can.
We understand the issue.
Okay. Sure, it is through the 17th. It's just through 10. Yeah. Okay. Insurance, you'll see counter proposal there.
Got it.
Consider. I did want to ask about the cancer benefit, Ms. Gillett, maybe that's an appendix we could put in, kind of like I talked about with the EAP thing, kind of a fact sheet I'd like to see added to the back of the contract. Just as a quick reference guide, I know the county does a lot of these things on the website for employees to go to, but I also recognize that, this is really a handbook for our folks, a reference manual. So things that we can include, I'd like to try to do that. I think, perhaps a fact sheet or, for the process to follow for the cancer benefit, should a member need to utilize that, would be very beneficial. Also think it's important to include because this is a public document. It's something that citizens can see and see the benefits of the work that the legislature's done in the state and what the county's done. I'd like to try to include that in there somewhere. We just weren't sure. Should we look at maybe putting that in here at insurance or just make a reference to an appendix at the end?
Okay.
This one's
Nick,
fun.
were you talking about firefighter
Ma'am?
cancer policy? Were you talking about the firefighter cancer policy?
Yes, ma'am. And I know it's governed by statute.
Right.
If I remember right, Ms. Gilley, didn't you tell me at one point there was a little bit of difference between the plan that you guys had opted for versus the statute? Like it was a better plan or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that?
more
I didn't tell
advantageous
you
to
that.
the employee.
What's that, Jen?
It's more advantageous to the employee, correct? What the county does.
Okay. So yeah,
I don't
that's a
remember.
good thing. That's a positive thing, right? So if the county's going above and beyond what's required by statute, then I think it's important to capture that. It's important to document it. So, you'll see there's a counter proposal for 19 for you guys to consider there. Get all into that, but out of classification. Again, just a reminder, this is, the proposed language in here is something that has been discussed previously. Again, I'll agree that discussed before anyone sitting here today was a part of this process, but this language, I think, we had some discussion before, we felt like it was overly wordy. But there's a reason that it's documented this way. It's a workable piece of language for our members, and it closes any loopholes or anything like that. And this stuff comes up because we experience situations that need to be clarified. So that sums those up. We will look back. Discipline. And one thing I wanted to be clear about with the discipline was that, correct me if you guys hop in here, but if, as I recall, the last proposal from discipline from the county side was did not disclude the matrix. Hanging on to that. So the matrix is not in this document here, but it's still there.
Our proposal included a modified version.
Correct.
Yeah, we had a
Right.
matrix, but I don't think we had agreed on the language of it because you wanted more specific attachment
Yeah, I
of a
think
range of
where
action.
the difference came in really was more along the recommended actions or possible actions, or however you want to word it.
Right.
And then the big discussion also then I believe was like what, K, letter K or something like that?
I remember one of the proposals was,
Yes, it is K.
and you have to forgive me, this may have even been when Kleinert was here, but there was a proposal that came over that was just kind of silly. The chart was, but I felt like we had gotten past that, and there may have been some changes to it if you wanted to offer, but maybe we need to look at the matrix specifically again and just revisit it and see where you guys are at.
Yeah. No, I mean, we had a matrix. I don't think we agreed on the language of the matrix, but
No,
we
no.
agreed
Just
to a
eliminated
matrix.
the last column.
The last grouping or the last,
The last column had
Remind
a
me.
range of action.
Of recommended
I'm seeing if I
discipline.
got it right here.
The last column, I believe, is the range of action. All right,
We can look forward during the caucus.
Yeah,
We
sure.
don't need, yeah, but I think K captures what everyone's trying to do, and that's a good middle ground language.
so again, the discipline that we brought back here is, I feel like, pretty agreeable to what the county was trying to accomplish.
And it's tied to your, got it.
That's correct. We did, I know there was some discussion about the 8.04 compensatory. We were offering or trying to reach some type of agreement about a rollover. We've looked deeper into that issue, and our stance is that that is a legal method. And so that's not an issue there, and the language should capture that. And then we did brand new language with the 8.05 there. Please take a look at that.
Okay.
That's it in a nutshell.
Does anybody have any questions? All right, well, let us go and look this over and get back
Yep.
to you.
Hey,
I think, go ahead.
I mean, cut you off. My understanding too from the December meeting was that the county intended to discuss, were there any updates on the battalion chief situation, review of that. Is there anything you guys have prepared you'd like us to at least look over while we're in caucus, or we can kind of knock out as much as we can?
We don't have any new proposals.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't have any new proposals, but my
It's just a discussion
my
kind of thing?
computer's dead, so I'll share some information once I get my computer juiced back up.
Okay.
Why don't we do this? We'll go to a caucus, but we'll try to make it a short one since we're not leaving anything.
Okay.
Now, I don't know where we're gonna go.
We'll,
But this, I
we'll
think-
step out. Oh, you guys sit tight.
Well, I
Step
think we
out.
gotta go away, because I think we all have to go, because I
Oh.
think this records, right? Even if we leave, even when we push it off, it's still recording. So I guess neither of us can meet in private in this room.
Mhm.
So we both need to go to,
Fair enough.
Unless you pause the team.
Is it across the hall open for us, or is that where you're going?
No, no, we're gonna go down, we're gonna go to Debbie's
There's
office.
somebody in that room over there.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah, and when I walked by there, there was somebody in there.
So,
Can we use the fire chief's office? There's a big table in there.
yeah, y'all should go in there.
Okay.
There shouldn't be things, and I don't know how we pause the teams, but,
even if he pauses it,
You
it's
can
still.
just turn it off. and then
how do we?
log
He has
back
to
in.
unplug it.
Okay.
Tired yet?
I'm exhausted.
Let's see it. We got busy overnight?
No, we did a bunch of the training, so I was standing all day out in the sun. Well, it wasn't sunny. That was a weird thing. It was kind of windy yesterday. Windy and sun. I was
Wind up
standing out there all
the heck out
day,
of
and ended up that fire, and then we did all those extrications, and it was just like, and of course, all that creates paperwork, and
Okay, who are we missing? All right.
Nobody.
Okay, I think we're ready, David.
All right, thanks. So, we appreciate the package, extensive stuff that you gave us today. We kind of were going through a couple of articles that are longer in language, and we were kind of bogging down a little bit. So we decided to go through everything. We don't want you sitting there all night long having to wait on us. So we have three that have some kind of tweaks to them, and we thought we'd get back in and get these to you. I don't have copies for everybody, but I'm gonna kind of talk you through it, so you might be able to mark up yours so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna start with Article 17 on insurance. And this is your language that we're gonna work off of. Your January 29th, 2021. Okay. So what we're countering is your language, except we're striking the language that says on line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Starts on line 6. Except that the rate charged to bar union members for this coverage shall not increase more than 10% from 1 year to the next. Everything else is the same. We've added language that says information regarding cancer benefits is provided in section 112, 1816 Florida statutes is attached at appendix, and whatever that appendix number is. You want to see this?
As a point of clarification,
Sure.
for the handwritten note or the appendix, are we talking about just attaching a copy of the statute, or is it gonna be more of a type of fact sheet that explains specifically what the county's policy is, or a combination of both?
It could be a combination of both.
Okay, I think that would capture the spirit of what we were looking for.
Yeah, we're not just attaching the statute, so we
Okay.
would work out something that
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
reflect what the county would do. So I just need that back, because that's my only copy. Thanks. So the next would be holidays.
Mhm.
So this is the language you gave us today on holidays.
Mhm.
And the only change we have is that we're advised by the clerk that the correct number that should be in the last paragraph of, that is 1902, 1, 2, 3, 4,
The
5,
percentage down there?
6.
Yeah.
The percentage
That's a
should be
mistake on our part.
10.68 instead of 10.71, so that's our only change, so I guess we're good with this. That
Go ahead and doing this. Brent, you go
Harrison,
ahead and mention that.
Adam,
Go ahead.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we found when we were looking at the holiday calendar that was put out recently for this year, and is that there's actually 14 holidays on the 2021 calendar. The 15th one listed at the bottom is in 2022, so we would exclude that. So for this year, 2021, we would need to have it adjusted to reflect the 14 holidays. Now, since we already started this year, so on and so forth, this year's in an anomaly. One proposed thing would be to just provide everyone in the fire department that's on 24s, 24 hours of annual leave to compensate for the extra holiday this year, instead of reworking the percentage for 1 year and then we go back. This is kind of a similar oddball year to where on leap years, the shift that worked Christmas gets it again the following year because of the leap year. It only comes up every so often. This is one of those instances, I think, because and it really boils down to the way Christmas and New Year's fall during the week and the day is on a Saturday. I think that's my interpretation of that.
Yeah, it would fall when there's a county only recognizes holidays Monday through Friday, but when they actually fall on a Saturday and Sunday, there's an additional paid holiday not reflected in the 13 that we're discussing. So 2 out of every 7 years, for Christmas and New Year's, one of those days would fall on a holiday. So 2 out of 7, there would be an additional 24 hours of that, and then be admin leave, not annual leave, to compensate.
So the calculation, correct me if I'm wrong, clerk's office,
Mhm.
is based on there being 13 holidays,
Yes, ma'am.
that percentage. So that was why B was struck.
No, it's not struck.
That's why in our proposal it was, because the calculation, the percentage is based on 13 holidays.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, but we unstruck it.
right.
And so what we're asking for is to just leave the percentage alone, let's not rework the math, because this is just an oddball year, and
Okay.
Compensate.
I understand the offer. So what you're saying is that for this particular year, since county employees will have 14 holidays, that all of this would stay the same, but you would like to have 24 hours of holiday.
Correct.
Or admin,
On the
whatever
Me
you wanna
Too
call it.
clause, because
Felt like
everyone
it
else
would
in the
be
county is getting it.
Easier to accomplish rather than trying to
And trying to
manipulate
call
code
it
or something
Right,
like that.
but could we
Yeah.
just
Because that's
add
what it
language
is.
in B that stipulates it's not going to be additional holiday pay under this calculation, it would be,
Yeah, you just want a line saying that because it's an oddball thing, it's just gonna be this kind of one-time.
On the year, the county employees get 14 holidays, fire would get 24 hours or 9 hours.
Or you could,
of
because the word is more of
What I
like,
hear you saying is that, see, what I hear you saying is that an additional holiday hasn't been granted, but there's just an additional holiday because of the calendar.
because of the calendar, and it will happen randomly 2 times out of every 7 years,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
4 times out of, potentially 4 times. When it affects every county employee,
B's me too.
that year on
That's what it
Me Too clause, we would get 24 hours of admin,
Yeah, it's
or
just how
9
we
hours,
want it to
depending
be.
on the person.
Another holiday would
I
be
don't-
like Matamore Day.
And it could be
I
done
would
as an
celebrate
MOU,
Mike
it doesn't
Madison
have to be in
if
the
things go
contract, if you
Yeah, well.
come across that.
I think we
And
could
it
add,
would-
like,
it's
we
easy
could
enough
do
to
an
know by
MOU
looking
for
ahead.
this
When
year,
it
or we could
happens.
do a line in B that says something to the effect of, anytime there is something more than the 13 calculated, it will be compensated in this manner.
right, yes.
And then it's
I-
plain and
Now, that would
simple.
cover it, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay, good, all right, I got it.
How do we determine though, let's say the county does in the future, they're gonna go to 15 holidays that are recognized, and that becomes the new standard? We need to be sure we're able to capture that as well, though. I mean, and we would have to renegotiate, I know that, but
All right.
our negotiation process is a little bit lengthy, so.
Yeah,
I wanna-
Is it?
multi-year lengthy. But I think what we're talking about now would cover everything on when it does happen for the rest of the county, and it would be simpler to give us annual admin leave than it would be to calculate the rate.
This, and suggestion from the clerk's office would be, if we go that route, it goes into the holiday bank. Because there's a current holiday bank for other employees. Fire doesn't have one, but That would be the best place to put it,
I'm sorry.
Tell it
to keep it consistent
How does the holiday,
leave bank.
instead of annual leave. They're suggesting annual leave, I'm just suggesting
Well,
holiday
it's just
leave bank
telling- it
because
can be
there's
added
already.
in. I don't think it would actually.
Hold on a
be
second, it can't be
annual.
annually, right? Because that's
Annually
done
is
differently. You could look at comp, but comp could potentially become an issue because of the way that's,
Correct.
You pay
That's
out for
why a
that.
holiday leave bank was set up for the rest of the county.
Holiday leave or.
right. We don't have that bank though, so
Correct.
we're gonna have to
We'd have to
address
create
that.
That's not,
well, they can
that's
bring
not
it
the
back.
issue.
Okay, all right, we
What do
understand
you
the
mean you
issue.
don't have that
We'll
bank?
just have
They
to.
don't have a holiday leave bank because they
All
don't
right.
get paid holidays.
So we got, we'll reach part 19.
All right.
Okay.
But we can give them.
Article 20,
Instead of
out of
doing annual
classification.
leave. Or annual.
So we
So
have,
would it be where it says annual leave, comp leave, it'd just be another line item that says
Another
holiday
line
leave,
item
you get
that
it
says
plugged in and
holiday.
you use it?
And the beginning of the year, as soon as the
We
holiday
made one
calendar is
change.
set, we can plug those
we're kind of
hours.
uncomfortable with some portion because some portion could be a half an hour.
I'm not opposed to that.
Some portion of the regularly assigned shift. We think that's, yeah. It's a little ambiguous for us. So we said over 50%.
Help me out here, where are you reading something?
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines down. Where you have some portion. We think they should work the majority of the shift. And other than that, this is your language.
I just want to make sure, the whole intent of that addition was to try to close loopholes and things like that. I'm not saying that's what you guys are trying to create at all. That's, make sure we're covered here. This captures the intent. I understand what absolutely what you're saying. And I guess I can see how that would present an issue. Typically, those that are in acting capacity, to achieve that many shifts, it's an assignment. It's not a, hey, I need you to hold over for half an hour because
Right.
the guy's coming for overtime and, oh, count that one.
Yeah,
You know.
if somebody's late.
Is
or
5
something.
consecutive shifts for somebody working 24-hour shifts?
It's 5 consecutive or 14 calendar days, so that
Okay.
would also, are you concerned about the daytime folks? We put 5 shifts, they're, I would say we'd examined at one point,
We kind of
we've
looked at
accepted
it.
that 5 shifts is equivalent to the 14 calendar
Correct.
days.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
just.
whatever the regularly assigned shift is.
So is there an occasion when someone would bump back and forth?
It used to be by admin, yeah. The
Every
office
day?
would do it
Well,
intentionally.
yeah, so you have guys.
I don't want to
that-
pay you that, so I'm going to have you step up and act. You're the first one that would act on the shift, so you're going to bounce you around and you're going to act and then, oh no, he's already done 4, so I'm going to keep you down and move this other person up. That's inappropriate.
Yeah, that's what was done to prevent having to pay employees.
But-
You'd work 4 out of 5, and then they'd move another guy in, and then on day
I
6,
mean,
you
I mean in a single day.
in a single day, only if
Hold on a second. In a single day,
Uh-huh.
the potential for, I mean, yeah, the potential could be there, sure. It could be. Especially right now, our scheduling is a little on the chaotic side. So could it happen? Yes. Typically, these actors, what we're referring to here, it is a pre-scheduled thing, and you're going to move into this, I guess temporary vacancy would be the right way to look at that because of leave, that type of thing. They're scheduled in that way. or I get injured, I'm gonna be out for 3 weeks, so that actor would be put in that position.
I guess I'm just trying to understand the language that you've added. I read this to mean that for each assigned shift, for that period of 14 calendar days or 5 consecutive shifts, you would have to be working in that acting capacity for at least 50% of that assigned shift.
Right.
Okay, so that's what the intent is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we also have language in here that says, we'll make every effort to assign a sole qualified employee to the position, and that we're not going to subsequently assign back to perform the duties of someone in a higher classification for the exclusive purpose of avoiding the 14-day requirement.
The issues that we have seen is confusion over the 5 shifts, because that has happened. We've seen arguments come up, and we've been able to resolve them, and this has become practice where it's, again, the example I gave where I'm injured, so that creates a vacancy for my position, and a person moves in there. So, you know, firefighter X works a few of those shifts, I miraculously heal in return after they've worked, say, 3 of those acting shifts. However, their following shift, another officer takes off, so they move over to that shift to act, to cover. So they can achieve that pay status by filling those vacancies. It still has to be the 5 consecutive shifts, but it doesn't have to be, well, I know we used you for that, your clock doesn't start over because you move assignments technically. You're still fulfilling those duties. And that was the intent behind that.
All right, so that's what we have for 17,
Can you give
19,
me
20.
just,
Sure.
give me 1 second. Okay. Is that what you were concerned about? No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Was there
that was it.
something more to it?
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
If we need to call this, we will.
I would like to, just for 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure. We'll just hang in here and be quiet
Yeah.
because we're recording.
Yes. Don't let me make the
Yes.
decision about you.
So we now have another clarification. But I think it's what everybody intended. The 14 days, which was in the old language, is for people on 9-hour shifts, right? And the 5 consecutive shifts are for people on 24? Because that would be equal.
That's the intention.
Yes. We might better clarify that because, but you might have another change to it. So it would probably read something like, the qualifying period shall be achieved by an employee that continuously serves in an acting capacity for 50% of the regularly assigned shift for a period of 14 consecutive calendar days for 9-hour shifts or 5 consecutive 24-hour shifts.
We'd really like to put or after a regularly assigned shift or for a period of 14 calendar days, 5 shifts. That's what we really like.
And in the line before that, just go up 1, strike the word continuously.
Say that again, kid, it's supposed to.
So I'll just read the line how we would like it to be. The qualifying period shall be achieved by an employee that serves in an acting capacity for some portion of their regularly assigned shift or for a period of 14 hours or 14 calendar days or 5 consecutive shifts.
Well, that would mean anyone who serves in an acting capacity would automatically get paid out of classification pay
Yes,
without a
ma'am.
qualifying period.
Yes, ma'am.
So then what's the point of even having the rest of that sentence?
Then let's strike it.
So your suggestion is that there is no, everybody who's in any acting capacity from the first minute gets paid?
Yes, and ideally, that's what, if you serve in that role, yeah, and you be compensated for the duties performed in that role.
And the responsibility.
I mean, it's a little different. Let us explain a little bit to you. I'm not saying you're going to agree with it, but just understand where we're coming from. Let's take the person, and I think this happens a little bit more often than what we currently have going on, which there are some anomalies with the beach and all that other stuff. But the battalion chief is doing the roster. I need someone to fill in at this station over here. I have a guy that can act at this firehouse. I'm going to bump him over to the next firehouse to not have the same job responsibility and duties, but one of a higher classification. He's now using his money, his gas, his car to move stations. You're not provided a vehicle, you're not provided any of those other things, and now you're acting above that with more responsibility, the same responsibility as a promoted position. They're helping the county by saying, I agreed to do this. There's nothing that forces them to have to do it. And so they're helping them, they're saving the county actually money by paying them acting pay versus paying a lieutenant on overtime, someone like that, so on and so forth. So actually the employee is stepping up and really helping the county and the fire department by agreeing to do something that they don't absolutely have to do. So I only feel that it's fair that we compensate them for the added responsibility, because it's not like they're just sitting in and kind of watching the class as a substitute teacher. At that fire the other day, any one of those officers, and there were acting officers there, that made a difference in saving that man's life beyond what just the rank of firefighter did. They should be compensated for that. And that's our point.
There's other language within the contract that speaks to rank overtime, things like that. So it's accepted already. So if we're willing to accept the significance of rank for rank overtime and those opportunities, and a person who's working out of classification and accepting those additional responsibilities will be compensated.
Okay.
Hey, Dave, it shows that the recording has stopped.
Can you try that again?
Yeah, you do that.
The recording has stopped.
It shows the recording has stopped.
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
That was just the Teams one. It wasn't,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
not
our
needed.
recording here is good.
Okay.
Okay.
Now
Well-
that I'm all confused about this proposal because over what y'all presented to us, and the only change we suggested was from some portion to majority, and now you are changing language completely. Is that what I'm to understand?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
They have
basically
a-
what you
they have a-
presented to us wasn't really the language you wanted to present to us?
Well, they were right to amend their proposals.
Can I ask Jana a question?
Yeah.
Jana, in other areas of the county, doesn't someone have to work a certain amount of time before we put them in as out of classification, acting whatever?
Correct.
Okay, I don't know why we would do it differently for you guys.
So the concern would be, in those instances, there's a difference in when a temporary vacancy is created due to, injury or something along those lines, right? And we all understand that. And in that instance, we utilize a promotional list. Top person or whoever, however it works out, is granted that vacancy, and typically that vacancy would extend, the 5 shifts, 14 days. So that covers that portion, that's fine. But what we've experienced, especially in the last year or so, with kind of chaos in the scheduling, you end up with guys who are having to bounce around constantly for these immediate temporary vacancies.
No, we agree
and
with that.
portions of that.
Yeah.
But it's, again, it can be, a person may be assigned to the cantonment station, that's their regular assignment, but because of vacancies that created, people that have left, things like that, that's the only qualified actor on that particular watch. So when a vacancy is created, in order to follow SOGs and how that works, now that person ends up for the next 4 shifts. They go to Pensacola Beach one day, they're assigned out there, they're assigned to Perdido Key, they're assigned to West Pensacola, and then the last one they get assigned to Inslee, which is next door.
But
Well, then on the
acting in
fifth
this,
day,
acting in this elevated position.
acting, that's right, but all of that additional bouncing all over on the fifth day, by no fault of anyone's, there's no leave that day, there's no vacancy that day. So that person has contributed all that additional time and given all that additional up, and they receive no credit for that.
So what you're saying is a little different from what he's saying, because he's
Mhm.
saying the minute you do it, you get it. You're saying that maybe the
What he's
time,
saying
maybe it should be
simplifies
more
that.
than, it should be more than that.
Yes, ma'am, but what he's saying also simplifies it, and that is what a lot of other places do as well. A lot of other fire departments work that way. When you step up into that classification, you're paid for that. Now, they may put a limit on that, and say that it's, you know, it can't be 30 minutes or something like that. You know, it needs to be a period of the shift. And perhaps, you know, we say 50% of that shift before you earn that. I mean, I would certainly be willing to stipulate that, you know. So if it is for a day, you must, your tour is 24 hours, they must hit 12 hours of that shift to receive the pay for that day. I'll stipulate that, but to simplify it, that's where Andrew was coming from, is to just say, pay them hour for hour when they step up.
I'd like to do a little research on that, because I understand that fire departments might be different from regular county employees, but I'd just like to make sure that we feel comfortable if we're gonna do that.
Okay.
So let us take that back, and we'll have to do some research before we can decide if we agree with what he just said, or if there's a compromise between how long it is, how many shifts it is, or something that's a little bit more than him, a little less than what you may have offered. Okay, we'll do that.
All right.
So,
I
Just
get
explaining,
what
I think that is the difference when we say, to your point, Kristen, when you were like, well, why do we need the rest of the language there? If you say it's hour for hour, if you put it that simply, then sure, that captures that. But if there are some other, you know, stipulations in there for this portion, in a way, it is two different things that we just wanted to be
No,
sure
I
about.
get it. If I have to be Janice, which is a crappy job some days, I want to get her salary.
Yeah.
Not wait 5 days of being Janice before I get it.
I bet you he'll represent you for that.
Okay, I get it. Let us just do some research, okay?
Okay.
All right, good. So we're working on the grievance part. We got a little bogged down with it.
Okay. What are,
Well, what we're thinking about doing, what we did, which you accepted, is we went to calendar days. Now, when we went to calendar days, that contracts all the time periods, right? You lose off days, not counted days. Well, we think we're gonna go back to business days as also in your proposal. But then business days impacts all of the dates now.
right, so we have to make a decision, right? So if we're gonna do calendar days, then you wanna try to extend the period a little bit because you're not compensating for those holidays. If it's
Right.
business days, you know, for obvious reasons, the number of those business days can be less, sure.
Yeah.
I just, you know, for our purposes, we just wanna know which way we wanna go with it.
Well,
And-
I'm just letting you know that when we had a long conversation in our caucus, but I think we're landing on business days.
Okay.
I think business days makes more sense because some of the I know that your operation is 7 days a week, but there are people that interact
But certainly.
in the grievance
Sure.
process
That are not.
that might not be available on one of those days, you know, and so it lands on that day and they're not available, and so.
And I think that is reflected in some of the proposals we put in, with the, like, time limits and parameters and things like that, having appropriate amount of time.
So, and I'll be honest, we kind of, if we go to business days, we're gonna look very carefully at extending those preliminary time periods, because you know, we want to move the grievance along. The one, we will admit, that the one period that seems to us to be too tight is the period to decide to go to arbitration. Because I think, if I'm reading the contract right, it's 5 days. You moved it to 60. You think 60 is too long to sit around and wait whether a grievance, an arbitration is going to come in or not? But we think 5 days, we agree with you, 5 days is not enough. I'll be honest with you, we're looking at 15.
You know, you've also been a part of these processes and things like that. While you always hope that they're resolved at a lower step of it, you know, the decision to go to arbitration is not anything to be taken lightly.
Right.
And more times than not is it does involve your legal counsel, and you need the opportunity. It's common practice if you have a significant disciplinary issue that you're grieving to involve legal counsel. Difference of opinions or on you know, the circumstances may not afford that. So we do need, you know, you do need the opportunity to be able to discuss things and gather evidence, present those things to legal counsel. And I would imagine that should work that way on both sides. And that was the concern. I want to say, wasn't there a portion in there somewhere that was 30 days? And it felt like even that was a little bit tight, realistically, you know, to move a process forward. So that was a concern there, the thought process. Doesn't mean that, you know, certainly doesn't mean you have to wait 60 days before you make a decision. If you have a decision, you can move forward. But some things are also dictated on our side by business meetings. And we certainly need, depending on when something may arise, we may need more time than just 2 weeks to convene the proper forum to make a decision like that.
All right. Well,
If there's another thought,
we just think 60 is too long.
to me, okay.
So, I mean, it's, when you add 60,
I
and I
feel-
know that you don't have to go to the last day, but you can go to the last day. Because that's your right to go to the last day. And if you go
How does it
all of
benefit us
those,
to stretch that out as long as possible?
I don't know, so I'm just saying. So if you go through each step
Mhm.
and you add up all those dates,
It's long. Sure.
and you put 60 at the end of it.
I feel like 15 is way too low.
15 business days.
Okay.
That's 3 weeks.
It's 3 weeks.
That's still not, you know, again, like my example about certain decisions or
All right,
have to be made in certain forums.
We'll meet you in the middle, and we will do 20 business days. That gives you 4 weeks instead of, that gives you a month instead of 2 months.
Month's a long time.
Mhm.
You can think about it. We haven't, we
Is-
don't
is that
have, we
the
don't
only-
have, we don't have it written up yet.
Oh, okay. We were just looking for some continuity. Some of the days between
Yeah.
the steps were, you know, just kind of all over the place. I think that complicates it for everyone. You know, if you forget what, it may sound bad, forget what step you're on, but even for, you know, the administration side, it's, you guys are also juggling multiple contracts, you know, and if
Well, we were
they're
trying to
Yeah.
create consistency.
between them, okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
All right. So that's, you want to just come back with some dates or change some days up, I guess, is what we're looking at?
Yeah, I think
on
so. I
that.
mean, we haven't completed our conversation about it, so, you know, some of the language on who pays and all that sort of stuff, we're still debating. But
We'll come-
We're pretty close.
we're pretty close to,
Understand.
we're
That's a big one. I mean, that's
Yeah.
You want to get it right.
okay.
So we're gonna go back and work on that. I don't know what else we're gonna have in writing for you guys today. I don't want to waste your time. We're probably gonna burn the rest of our time together, you know, a caucus, trying to get at least the grievance stuff done. Whatever we can get done today, we'll get to you. before we meet again. I don't know, I think we'd like to meet sooner than later. I actually, I don't have my calendar in front of me. If we could meet next week, it would be great.
Before we get there, was there anything on any of the other proposed prevailing rights, any?
We're working through all of those. So hours of work is a big one for us.
I hate to give up the time. If there's discussion that can be had, hey, here's our hang up on this. We may discuss this and recognize that the hang up is really not a big deal. And move forward.
I don't know, I think
I think we're still debating internally.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask about that, obviously, and then, we wanted to talk about the battalion chief thing, and I hope Ms. Gilly passed off whatever she had to somebody. Awesome. And then, yeah, that was another point of trying to schedule some days coming up. We've got to stop this every 3 months thing, and I know we canceled last time, but, the batting average has been really spaced out.
we're willing to meet on a more regular basis.
We talking a couple times a month? I think that would be great, and we can move.
Janice's schedule may be the hang up there.
Yes.
I understand that, but I also feel like work can be done if she can't be here the entire time. I've been suggesting consecutive days forever, or asking for that. I think that can be beneficial, especially like in this type of setting today. If you knock out 4 hours in the morning, you've got some time in the afternoon to prepare for the following day. But I understand schedules. If we can get to meeting a couple times a month, I think that would be a massive improvement.
All right, we'll try to work on that and get that, so that we can meet on an expedited basis.
You think you have any availability in February?
Well, Janice said she's available next Friday in the afternoon. I have a perk hearing next Friday. Is next Friday the 12th?
No.
The
The
5th.
following.
Fifth.
What is next Friday?
5th.
5th.
Oh, the 5th. I might be able to do it on the 5th. I have to confirm that. Well, let's work toward that. I'll see if I can move whatever I'll move. If I can't move. Yeah, I'll let it be.
If you can't move, I mean, at least the whole rest of the month.
Oh, yeah, I definitely have time. Okay.
Well, that's you want to review the.
So there were several things that Jason was working on before he left, and one of them was a desk audit, not totally desk, but of the battalion chiefs. And so I've been trying to pick up some of those that we don't want to burden Eric with, and I just haven't gotten to that, and I may end up having to call him. So we have some more research to do, and I apologize, it's just with him leaving so fast, we didn't quite get caught up on everything. So I need to see what he did, and then talk to Eric to see if we need to do anything else before we can have a good discussion about it. I am working on it. That's why I'm out here. I'm trying to be out here at least a day a week, trying to work on just y'all's, public safety stuff.
Sure.
So I'm working on it.
I was under the impression that we discussed you guys want to do a desk audit, which was completed in time for Rogers to review those things. My understanding is that he had, and he had made preparations for the December meeting, which was canceled. So I was under the impression that it was a done deal thing, not I'm still working through this, and then, oh yeah, now I'm out the door, kind of the situation. So
Well, let's just say he didn't hand me the folder with explanation. So I have to still, I'm probably gonna have to call him anyway about it, but, which he will work with me, he said he would. So I just haven't, we're just not done. So we have to do a little bit more.
Do you have any questions on that?
Yeah, I wish I'd have been conveyed that information so I didn't waste my whole day sitting here. but
I do too.
whatever.
I really do too.
Because that was not what was my understanding of what was supposed to take place today. It's neither here nor there at this point.
Do you feel like if we meet in February, you feel like you have an opportunity to gather whatever information you gather? Or?
If you meet on February 5th, no, because I won't be here.
Okay.
I know I can't be available. I will try to get it done if we meet later, you know, if we're having several meetings, but later in February, yes.
So can you explain where you feel like the process is at, or who will hold responsibility for that? Again, I know when we discussed this, I believe in November, there was, it was brought up that, hey, we want to look at the new fire chief coming in and see what that person thinks. That was concerning because of the delay there, obviously, so then this debt Scott idea came back, and Director Rogers was supposed to be the one reviewing that. I would question perhaps what qualifies him to make that determination. Is maybe the best way I could put it, or simplest way I could put it. But especially considering that he did leave, I feel like at that point, then what's the difference in us bringing in an outside person now to speak to why it should be?
Well, I'm going to go through what Eric gave me, and I'm going to speak with Eric. I do think Eric, being who he is and being the volunteer district chief and everything, we assume that everyone would agree he's qualified to look at something like that.
No, I understand.
So I'm going to work with Eric, and, you know, there were a lot of issues about
Yes, ma'am.
someone leaving.
Yes, ma'am.
But this just got dropped through the cracks.
And please understand this frustration, at least from this side. We had this exact conversation about why this process has been taking so long back in whenever the last conversation 2 months ago we had about this. And the exact reason it had taken place is because of people leaving and the continuous case and how many people had already had their hands in this process. And it was like, hey, stick with us. We got this new team together now. Now we're going to get it through. And we're back to the original conversation again. That now somebody else has left again. And we're back to square one where you have to go through that. And so please understand it's very frustrating from my side of the table to hear that again. Because
well, I'm frustrated
now,
about a lot of things with Jason leaving as fast as he did.
but it's just it's like a broken record every single time. And now we're on person, I think it's 6, just off the cuff, I don't remember.
Okay, I'm not going anywhere.
I sure hope not.
She says that.
Yeah.
I like to kind of get things off my desk, so we'll have an answer of some sort in February.
Thank you.
How's that? End of February. Give me a minute.
An answer or
Our
my answer is I'm giving it to this person.
No.
Okay.
We'll have an answer of our interpretation of the research.
I just have a couple clerical things that we found when we were going through this during our caucus. So the first one is in Article 8, which is 8.03, number 2. That's sick leave. It talks about the payout upon retirement. And actually this change would probably need to translate down into number 3 as well. So the way it's written, and we confirmed this with Human Resources, the 1040 hours, the 1,040 hours, the way it's worded is incorrect. It should be 2,080 hours. So you have 2,080 hours. You get half of that, which is the 140. So the way it's written with the 50%, it needs to say 280, so then you can receive the benefit of the 1040.
Okay.
That's that, and then it talks about 1040, down in 3, which is layoffs. Again, those numbers need to probably be moved around to the 2080, so the math jives.
You have any questions about that?
I don't think the county's intent is anything
No,
wrong at all.
no,
It's
that was
just-
just, it's a
the way we read it,
100%
it
clerical
misguides me,
typo.
is all. So,
And then we will go to Article 10. 10.03B, we reference Article 10.08, and it's not. That 8 should be changed to a 1.
wasn't you?
Okay. That's a simple thing, that's just a typo. And then we do have a change in 10.04A.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on
Okay.
one sec.
Yes. You let me know when you're ready.
Okay, you said 10.03
Yep, B.
B, okay.
At the very end, it says Article 10.08 in our proposal, that 8 should be a 1.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, if you go back to 10.01, it all jives. Yeah.
Okay.
So then if you drop down to 10.04, subsection A, the last sentence, January, we would like that month changed to October. And that should have 0 impact on the county thing. That's an internal deal within the rank and file kind of thing that happens with us. So there's 0 operational impact to the county or the fire department by changing that date.
Okay. We got it.
I believe that's it for now.
All right.
Nothing on 6 or 8?
Huh?
Nothing on 6 or 8? Discipline leave?
Maybe. We might have something by the next time we get together, but it's hard for us to do that in August.
I just wonder how long we're gonna stay on that one, arguing about the language, how plain it's, black and white do we have to have it for everyone to feel comfortable?
Well, yeah.
And I mean, I agree with what he's saying. I think there's value in sitting down and discussing what issues are.
I'm not trying
Because
to,
oftentimes they're not as big as things, and more, I understand some things need some time, or there's research that goes with it, or what have you, but some of these things,
Yeah,
spoken communication is oftentimes more effective than just passing notes.
I agree.
I will say this just to reiterate this point, because I think it's been the big hangup, is I understand and respect why you guys want the changes to that disciplinary matrix.
Yeah.
But where I'm having a really, really hard time, and I, it's not because I don't want to understand. I really want to understand where you guys are coming from. But when you start talking about subsection J and K, and some of that's been struck, some of it's been moved, this, that, and the other, I honestly feel, in putting myself in your shoes, that you guys are legitimately covered in the spirit of what you're wanting, and what that is, the way I understand it, is to have the ability to deviate from the disciplinary matrix if you feel that it's warranted. And I feel like that language gives you that ability very, very clearly. We've gone through multiple versions of it. It hasn't lost its spirit or ability to do that. I think in court it would hold up very well as long as it wasn't to some extreme, someone took a paper clip and you fired them type of deal, something way off the wall, right? I just don't understand, and I guess that's what I'm asking for. If you come back with major changes to 6 and you don't want to leave the disciplinary recommendations and guidelines in there, could you please give us a legitimate explanation as to why the language that's in there, the black and white plain language that specifically says you guys can exceed that, why we can't have both? I feel like we've presented our case as to why that matrix is so important to us. And never once, if you go back and listen to the tapes of our arguments, been, it's because we want to hold your feet to the fire. It's continuity and guidance on our part, on knowing what we should do at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, because it's not a business day, and what's the right course of action for us to do to be fair in the process of discipline. It's never to say, you know, oh, you can or can't do something to me or to somebody else. And I think that that matrix has kept the fire department from getting themselves in a lot of hot water in the past by just providing guidance. And we've deviated from that multiple times, and you guys have proven by, you know, something that went down a couple years ago, that you can deviate from that and win that case. It's been proven. So again, I just need a better explanation to maybe find acceptance in where you're coming from.
Okay.
The argument of, you know, this being a contract, being a workable document for our folks as well, creating that continuity at a lower level, allowing discipline to be handled at lowest level, but also fair and equitable across for everyone. It allows that to happen. So that was the reservation about, you know, removing those recommendations and those columns. It's important. Honestly, it's been very helpful to me when somebody gets jammed up or something. It's an infraction, but it's, you know, it's not a suspension or anything. I'm getting rid of for this. I'm getting a letter. It clearly says this right here. This is what you did. This is where it falls. Why are we having this conversation? You know, and save everybody time.
You're saying that helps y'all,
Yes.
Absolutely.
regardless of at our level, but you're saying it helps you at your level.
It helps on
Well, I
one
think it
level,
helps both
but there's
sides.
also language, we feel there's also language in there that allows you guys as administrators to completely do your job unhindered.
And that's been proven a few years ago. It was absolutely proven.
Right.
There was an egregious situation that wasn't, the recommended, or the recommendations for a first offense didn't do the justice. And the right was exercised by the county to go full bore with it, and that's exactly what happened. And clearly, I mean, our labor was like, yeah, you're hung up here, this is it.
I think that's where the disconnect is for us.
That helps me understand why you want to keep
Yes,
them.
ma'am. Yeah.
Okay.
It is a functional tool for us as well, sure.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Well, I have one thing. If we're gonna pass documents back and forth, could y'all please number your pages and make it a lot easier?
Oh, sure. Jana, do you have anything else?
We lost it.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Okay. What do you feel like the turnaround might be as far as knowing your schedule, some dates coming up?
Right today.
Today? Okay, awesome. Outstanding.
But we only have that one date for Janice, so we still have to get with her.
Yeah,
Sharon,
I was
somebody.
gonna say my schedule, I'll give all my availability to Kevin. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
See you all later.
Thank
When
you.
did we get paid $5? What year, do you know?
2000.
Thank you.
Depends who you ask.
I think we got paid chief in '99.
How many sort of stipend program?
Unfortunately, you can,
What did it say?
touche.